Hello, my name is Ryan. I'm here today to talk to you about my time with my internship with my lead pastor, Pastor Gary Gray. And uh, First of all, I've known Pastor Gary for 11 years now. And he's been just a great mentor, a great influence in my life personally as a believer, as my pastor, and then also as um, a boss at the church, and just using his time and his giftings and talents to pour into my life. And over these last several months, we've met together multiple times, hours of meetings and questions from me to him about what ministry life looks like, and then some key themes that I wanted to just kind of take a few moments today to summarize some of our conversations around those themes. So, those themes were time management, which kind of goes into the next one, but work life balance, and then personal spiritual development. Time management is really, for me, the heart was being able to manage and steward the time that God has given us. I want to make the most kingdom impact that I possibly can here at the assignment here at the church, and to serve my pastor and to be a good steward of the time that I have to do that. So, just gleaning wisdom from Pastor Gary on how he plans and schedules and plans his days, his weeks, the month, messages, meeting with congregants, being involved in the community, all of those all the things that are required of us as ministers, that we have to balance to give enough time to each one, but also really preserving and securing that time to study God's word personally, so that we can be developing personally. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then also to deliver God's word every single week to the people that he's called us to pastor. And my time with Pastor Gary has just been so vital to understanding his thoughts on that and how he structures that, and how I can take some of that and apply it to how I do that, along with just the way I do things, because we're all different. But so that was super valuable. And then that leads into the next thing of work life balance. As pastors, most of us that are pastors know there's any number of things that we could be at the church almost 24/7. I mean, there's things going on in the lives of the people that we're called to pastor that we could get involved in and stay involved in, and it takes time away from our own families. And certainly they understand that that's going to happen from time to time, but I'm also called to pastor my own family, to lead my family. So how do we find this balance of doing what God's called us to do at home, and then also doing what he's called us to do within the church body? And so just gaining an understanding of setting up some boundaries and guardrails in my life and my walk with Jesus, and my being a dad and a husband, and all of the things, getting involved in the community, all of those things, so that we can balance that and really not feel guilty because we're taking time from one place or the other, but to find that balance so that we're truly satisfied and secure in that we're fulfilling the call of God on our lives. So, just some real good wisdom from Pastor Gary on how to set those boundaries and stay firm with those. It's okay to say no. That's one of the biggest things. It's okay to say no, as long as we're, again, continuing to fulfill, number one, as a staff pastor, what's required from my lead pastor. But even as a lead pastor, I've spent time as a lead pastor, having a schedule in place that protects my family, but then also protects my church family from all the other obligations. So there's certainly a balance to be found there. And then finally, probably the most important, is maintaining personal spiritual development. I think many times as pastors, we can use our study time and preparing sermons and justify that as personal study time. And I believe there's a distinct difference in how God reveals that. I think the importance of our personal study time can only and will only benefit our sermon development and sermon study time. So we've got to protect, and that's one of the things he and I talked about and continue to talk about, is developing those personal spiritual habits of reading God's word, praying, and then listening to what God is saying to me personally. Ryan as a believer, not Ryan as a pastor, not Ryan as someone who's got a long list of things to get done today, but what is God saying to me in my personal relationship with Jesus, where it all started? I've got to continue to develop that walk. I don't ever want to stay in the same place, because I believe God is constantly growing us. And so I've got to, as I set those guardrails up for time management, work-life balance, the number one thing for me that I've got to protect is my personal spiritual development, and guarding that time that I set aside every morning to get up, read God's word, spend time in his presence, worship, all the things. So those are just a few of the things that have been so beneficial to me over the past several months of really diving into what it means to pastor. And I've learned that from Pastor Gary, and I've learned that over the years from other mentors in ministry and in my life. So I'm so thankful for this time with him. God bless you as you continue on your journey.